Alright, y'all, what is going on? This is your man L Jamal coming through with another edition of Upon Further Review. We are breaking down part 2 of the Godfather series, going through the plot, getting in on some Michael character developments, and breaking down the relationship with him and his brother Fredo. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and like and subscribe and all that good stuff, and let's go ahead and get into it. Alright, so since this one is so long, we're going to have to break it down into a few different parts. So, first things first, we have the death of Vito's father and his arrival in America. Now, we are shown his father getting killed by a mafia leader. His mom gives up her life to help save him, but again, that's all, null and void. The mafia chief, I think his name is Don Chicho. He's worried about some type of revenge later on. So, that's not gonna fly. So he finds himself in America. Now he's originally quarantined due to some smallpox, but things turn around for him, and eventually years down the line he meets his wife Carmela. They have their first kid, Sonny, and eventually this is when he meets up with Clemenza. He also meets up with Genco Abandando and of course Sal Tessio. Now they form a little clique, they pull their little capers, and they're making some more money now, and eventually of course Vito's family will grow, and he would also get his first, I guess you would call his first beef, right? So they had this cat in the neighborhood named Don Fanucci, right? He claims he's part of the Black Hand, aka Mafia. He makes his little threats, and he extorts the people. Now Vito doesn't like this, and he can actually see past all his friends because again he's from Sicily, the town of Corleone to be exact, which is of course where he got his name from. And he already knows Fanucci, he's playing around. He ain't really about all that. So he ends up taking him out, and he becomes the boss of the community pretty much, right? But we also see kind of his kind-hearted side, the favors he does for the community. Now there's a scene where a lady gets kicked out because of her dog, right? He helps her get back in, and he becomes again, the I guess the voice of reason in the community, so to speak, right? We also see him going back to Sicily to get that revenge on that mafia boss, Don Chicho. Takes him out with some help from Don Tomasino. They also do some business, out there as well. So he, establishes himself in the game. Also, he has another beef with these other mafia families in the area. He takes them out, and of course, this is of course his rise into fame, I guess, or infamy, so to speak. So we have that going on. Now we move on to Michael. At this point, he's looking to further legitimize his endeavors and expand his empire. We see him at his son's communion, basically rubbing shoulders with a state senator by the name of Pat Geary. Now he's looking to obtain a gambling license, but since Geary is a hater, those talks pretty much are put on hold for the moment. We also see him being bombarded by a family enforcer by the name of Frankie Five Angels. Now Frankie back at home is dealing with the ops, the Rosado brothers, who are looking to take back some territory. Now the issue here is the fact that the Rosado brothers are on league with Hyman Roth, who's a potential business partner for Michael. Now Hyman seems to have the hookup on some casinos down there in Florida, and of course a deal will be very lucrative for the family, so Michael wouldn't want to, of course, jeopardize that. However, there is an attempt made later on that night on him and his wife's life, and he immediately confides in Tom Hagen that he believes Hyman Roth has something to do with it, and not only that, there was a member of his organization that had a role in it as well, and he's going to bring all that to light. Now, we also see him tell Pantangeli the same thing. I believe it was Roth. I don't think you had anything to do with it. Don't worry about it. Just kind of stay in your lane for now. Don't do nothing out of the box. He is fighting a two-front battle, because we also see him on trial with the Senate. They're looking to kind of get to the bottom of the actions that he was a part of in the first movie. He's also being asked about the role his father might have had in everything as well. So he's dealing with a whole bunch of things on his plate right now. Now later on, we would see him get Geary back into the fold. Remember how I mentioned Geary was not really gung-ho about helping him out trying to get a license? Well, this could have been coincidence. It could not have been. Y'all let me know in the comments. But Geary just so happened to be caught up in a very sticky situation, to say the least, at one of Fredo's brothels. It was one of Fredo's joints, which is why I feel like it was a setup. Personally, I don't think it was just something that
Again, I think they knew who, the senator was, just kind of his dark side, what they could kind of get him caught up with. I think they knew kind of how to set him up. That's kind of what I think. It could have been circumstance and something could have happened, and he just could have just happened to be at a Corleone property, but I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments. I think he was set up, and of course, not only do they get his support in terms of getting that license done, they also get his support at the Senate hearing. Who, when we see him, he turned his back against his former statements and said, "I love Italian Americans. I'm down with them. All that. They the hardest working Americans." He had to change his whole life because of what happened. Again, let me know what y'all think. I think your boy got set up big time. And Al Neri, he's a very sick guy. I'm just going to tell y'all right now. Now, moving on. We have Pantangeli, aka Frankie Five Angels. There's a meeting that was set up between him and the Rosados. The whole time Mike had been trying to tell him, stay in your lane, don't really go out of the box, try to make peace for now, we'll figure this out. However, he's called in for this meeting, and there's an attempt made on his life. Now, the cold part here is the fact that while they're trying to, take him out the game, they're telling him, Michael Corleone sends his regards. Now, personally, I understand the stress of the situation. I understand, you might be feeling some type of way at Mike because, you figure he's not going as hard as you would want him to. But I personally would have asked. I personally would have tried to do my best to kind of figure out, well, did Mike set me up? Did he not try to set me up? It seems like Frankie took the option of going straight to look, he did me in, he did me dirty, let me go straight to trying to get him back. And to do that, he decided to testify against him in the Senate hearing. Now, Mike hears about this, he goes, oh, I got something for that ass. And he ups the ante. You thought he could get even bolder? You didn't think he could get even bolder? No, he can. So he shows up to the Senate hearing with Frank's brother, straight from Sicily. Now, I know I'm gonna get into Mike and Fredo's relationship a little bit later, deep into how they kind of broke apart and the things that led to that. But imagine being Frank, going through what you just went through, having to be the guy, that's gonna potentially snitch and bring everything down, have to be the man. And out of nowhere, you show up to court and you are face to face with your brother all the way from Sicily, the home of the mafia. Imagine that face to face conversation and that the things going off in each other's head at that moment. Look at what, Frankie could have, put his family in with that situation, how he would have gone through with that. Of course, it was enough for him to recant his statements, and he would get dealt with, he would deal with himself when all things were all said and done. But still, in order to protect his family, but still, just seeing, his face, the brother's face, knowing that Michael could get that done. Wow, that's a powerful scene. In Cuba, it's revealed that Fredo has become acquaintances with Ross' right-hand man, Johnny Yola. Now, originally he would lie about this, but eventually he would just let it slip, and this would confirm to Michael that he was a rat the entire time. Hyman would later reveal that he set up Mike and Frank, and he did it for Mo Green. Man, fuck Mo Green. Mike would then take out Ola, but his henchmen couldn't get to Roth in time, but later down the line, another one of his hitters, Rocco Lampone, would get the job done. Rebels were going off in the city. Matter of fact, they took over the city, and in the midst of the chaos, Mike and Fredo would have to find their way home, albeit separately. Now, back home in Nevada, Fredo would confide to Mike that he just didn't know that this would happen. Now, in the movie, he's depicted as just incompetent. So, I guess it makes sense for him to say that. But let's be real here, it's just some principles that you gotta know. And I wouldn't have done that. Now, in Mike's perspective, if I was Mike, I probably wouldn't have went that far and shot your boy. Matter of fact, when I originally saw this movie with my grandfather, I remember seeing the scene and said, I just couldn't do that to my brother, no matter what. And he said to me straight up, well, that's probably not the line of work for you. And you know what? I agreed right with him. I said, nah, because I'm not the type of person to kill my brother like that. Now, again, somebody else puts me in a position of danger, anything like that. Hey, you got to do what you got to do. But I'm not the type to just want to kill my brother, even one of my best, closest friends. So, seeing that made me go, wow, but we see there's a scene before that in Cuba, and Fredo does pose the question of, why didn't we hang out before? Why didn't we talk and get close to each other before? And that led me to a question of, was there something Mike could have done more so as a brother? Could he have, been more cordial, more supportive? We also see Connie kind of calling him out for that too as well. I think, because you see Connie calling him out as well for certain things, maybe he could have been a little bit closer. But is that an excuse for what Fredo did? Nah, not really. Fredo also wanted to prove himself to himself. He wanted to make a move. And let's be real here. John Cazale, R.I.P., an amazing actor, gone before his time, but really acted this role, because you got to feel that hurt of being left over, being the elder brother, being the guy that people always, wanted to refer to as slow, and being somebody who, I wouldn't say that I was categorized as that or incompetent, but I would say that I felt as though people were saying that or felt that way about me. So I understand that frustration. But at the same time, I just wouldn't put somebody else in a situation to prove that to anybody or to myself. I would just have to find another way. Now, I know I think I posed this question in the last video, but what the hell was Fredo doing in this line of work anyways? This problem goes all the way back with Vito as well. Like, don't get me wrong. In the novel, he isn't, really described as so incompetent. Like, his biggest issue was the women, which did show up in, the movies as well. But he was a ladies' man, pretty much. He didn't take things as serious, but he was still somewhat capable. He just probably wasn't going to be a Sonny or a Michael, but he was capable, at least in the novel. By the way, the movie kind of, depicts him as something like a man child, completely soft and, just, not really, built for this. Now, if we take that, depiction of him, even more so, it's like, well, what was he doing in a position like that? What was he doing, in the family business to the point where he's getting attention from anybody else, any outside people? I would not have put him, of all the sons, I would have made him do something completely different. I know that Vito saw Mike as, potential senator or president, some type of big shot, but I would have put Fredo in something maybe near there. Maybe make him a lawyer or, a construction foreman or something. Make him a head of one of your dummy or your legit businesses. Maybe you make him a CEO of one of those, but you keep him away from the violence. You keep him away from the gangsters. You keep him away from that type of shit. Because everybody seems to say that he was so sensitive and so innocent. It just seems like that just wouldn't make sense for him to be there. Johnny Ola should not have ever approached him. He should not have been in the mix, because remember, they say you are as strong as your weakest link, right? So the whole point is to not have the weak link. That's how I look at that quote. Maybe I'm wrong for that, but I wouldn't want the weak link. Or if I had the weak link, then we immediately try to replace or, fix that. And again, it's a little bit different how they, depict him in the movies as opposed to the novels, and just the way that he's shown, in the first two films, that he's just not the guy for that. So, could Mike have been a better brother to him? Sure. But he also should not have been involved in that. I also don't know where the sense of entitlement from Fredo came from. Yes, he's an older brother, but he's also shown that he's not capable of ever handling any of this shit. Okay, so they had him far away, tucked away in Nevada for the longest time. And when Mike was on the picture, he was just pretty much a figurehead. So we already know. So that whole entitlement of, oh, why did everybody pass me over? Why was I not given that? You probably were. You were the first probably in line, but you showed that you couldn't handle it. So the entitlement put him in a bad sense of reality because he felt like he was due something almost. And, because he, felt bitter about being left over, he had this resentment that he really didn't need to have. And it led to this decision. And it ended up costing him his life. Now, of course, Mike would embrace him at the mother's funeral. He didn't want to do any cause any bloodshed while, in that moment. But there's a scene where he looks to Al Neri and you know what's on. He gives him that look. And even Al was like, damn, you want me to do him? So I feel like, even, with moves like that, I know Mike feels he, was justified. But even in the end, because as that last scene where you see him kind of reminiscing about, his brother Fredo and his brother Santino having that argument about him, or being, having that tense discussion about him. And he goes back and he remembers how, Fredo did have his back in that situation. And he's reflecting. And I think in that last scene, I feel like he, Mike is understanding now just of the toll of being, this big time, this hot shot is taking on him. He just realized I had to take out my brother. We also see later on, him and Kay, his wife, they fall out. She has an abortion. She didn't want to bring another son into the world and have him grow up in that. Was she right for that? Not necessarily. I thought that was kind of, messed up of her. I think she should have found a way to get away or end that relationship, before doing something like that. I would have been honest and say I'm not happy before I did something like that. And just kind of let him know, and see what happens there. I wouldn't have done it like that for those reasons. But again, you have that falling out and it's starting to cost Mike in a way. Connie comes back. She, realizes that he, that she's all in it. She's in, for the long haul. She loves her brother, but that's about, he lost his brother. He lost his wife. He lost his father, his other brother not too long ago. He lost both brothers. One of them he had to, was at the end of his own hand or at his own call. And he has to now live with that. And that last scene, I think, does a good job of showing you his new perspective and what he's starting to realize right now and just how much shit that he is in, and, jealousy, envy, anger, it leads to, ruined relationships, ruined friendships, and ruined brotherhoods. And this is how we have a breakdown in Philos, aka brotherly love.